Welcome back to the International Cannabis Business Conference in San Francisco, California. I'm sitting here with David Lampach. He's the founder and chief executive officer of Steep Hill Labs, the first cannabis testing lab, I understand. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
I'm really excited to talk to you because I'm from the state of Oregon, Portland, Oregon. We just passed marijuana legalization. And I've been following the industry and the development of legalization throughout the states, and I found a very interesting phenomenon in Colorado and in Washington State. The laws for the testing and labeling of recreational marijuana are far more stringent than those for medical.
Right.
What's your opinion on that? And what is Steep Hill doing to try to lobby legislatures on how this testing should roll out in legal states?
Right. Well, my opinion on that is that it's absurd.
Yeah.
Obviously, medical cannabis should at least be as safe, if not safer, than recreational cannabis. The reason that happened was because the medical cannabis legalization that occurred first in these states, and those were by referendum, and those referendums didn't require testing. And so when that developed, there was no initiative to have quality assurance testing. They learned from that experience and then passed recreational and decided to test, which is the sensible way to go. But because of the way referendums work, you can't just go back and change the will of the people, essentially.
Like a do-over kind of thing.
Yeah.
So another issue that I've reported on in the past, and this one came out of Colorado, was, I want to call it a sting operation, but investigations by local news there that found tested and labeled, particularly edibles,
right,
were not living up to what was on the label. Things that were labeled 100 milligrams was coming in anywhere from 5 to 160.
So Steep Hill did that testing.
Okay.
It was for the Denver Post in Colorado, and we also did a similar test for CBS News in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact results. I don't know why producers and processors of edibles would ever put 100 milligrams on a label. There were some that were coming up at 0.5 milligrams of THC.
Yeah, I remember
that company fortunately is now out of business.
Good.
But there were a lot of misses by lesser factors. But the fact is that you do the testing, you can get it dead on every time. And we have clients who do that over and over and over again, and those guys get it right. So it's
not impossible to do. You can make a 100 milligram chocolate bar that's always 100 milligrams.
That happens in every food industry in the country.
So what's to explain the wildly disparate numbers some of these people were getting? Just lack of understanding how to.
I think in some cases it's a genuine just sort of lack of awareness, and it was sort of an honest mistake. But in others it's really just fraud. So I think greed is probably a pretty strong explanation as to why that happens.
Of course, other things that have to be tested for: mold, mildew, contaminants, pesticides. Are there any areas in testing that are new frontiers that we hadn't thought about previously?
Yes, absolutely. We just came out with a product called GenKit, which is a DNA-based diagnostic that tests for the sex of the cannabis plants. So it's not safety related, but it's good for especially outdoor growers. They can, put their plants to seed, and then right when they come up, they can test the leaf material and know if it's a female or a male. Then it reduces raw materials, time, resources, things like that go into growing twice as many plants to arrive at a number half as large, because 50% are male, and males will pollinate the plants and make them essentially worthless.
Now, the other issue that I have as a consumer, I'm originally from Idaho, and I always like to joke, we had 2 strains there, got some and don't. But now we have, as consumers, much greater selection, much greater diversity of product, yet the Super Silver Haze I buy at one place sometimes doesn't seem like the Super Silver Haze I bought at another place. Is there any sort of way, genomically perhaps, that we're standardizing this?
Yeah, there's actually 2 ways we do that at Steep Hill. One is DNA testing, essentially, where we actually look at the DNA, and then you can say this is Super Silver Haze, as long as you have a solid reference for the strain that you want to test for. And the other way is just to look at it chemically. And cannabis is so diverse that there will be, very different cannabinoid profiles from strain to strain, very different terpenoid profiles from strain to strain. So You can tell a lot just by looking at the chemical profile of the plant. You can, in many cases, say this is absolutely not something. In some cases, it's a lot harder to say this is definitely something specific strain by doing it that way. But the combination of those two is a deadlock. So
I know in Colorado there was a weird MED rule about not being able to get your own cannabis tested if you were home growing it. Is that something you're working to change? And is there perhaps around the corner home testing kits or some sort of way we can get that to the consumer level?
Yeah, we're actually working on stuff like that at Steep Hill. I'm not sure when Colorado is going to change that. It absolutely does not make sense. They're the only state that regulates cannabis in the country where the law is that way.
And so you have Steep Hill is available in all the legal and medical states at this point?
We have a lab in Berkeley, California. So we're in California. We are in Seattle, Washington, Denver, Colorado. We're opening in Las Vegas, Nevada, and soon to open in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also Portland, Oregon. There
we go. We wanted to hear Portland, Oregon in that list. Fantastic.
Yep.
David Lampach is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Steep Hill Labs. You can learn more at steephilllab.com. And any other information to get out to the people that want to contact you or learn more about the issue?
Yeah, check out our website, get active, make sure that cannabis regulation gets, sensibly put in place in your local jurisdiction, and, let's make sure we educate patients and consumers as to what they're consuming, because they have that right to know.
I hear you. Thank you so much, David, for joining us here at the desk.
Appreciate it.